Hey Glenn, this is Damien. I wanted to cover the interface of Zendone really fast, so I figured I'd just show you an example of my setup. It's not really my setup. It comes out of the box ready for GTD, but as you can see here, I have 3 areas, and I'm in the self-defense area, which is nothing in there that's necessarily important or that I need to conceal or anything. So I'm going to use this area as an example. If you click on all, then what happens is that you see, just like in Nirvana, you basically see all of the tasks for all your areas. So when you switch to the one you want, then you're going to see a filtered down version. So real quick, the interface is pretty simple. You can click up here to add a quick note, a task. So you can say this is a task. And you can tab over if you like, and over here you see is a single action, which is the next action is the default. You can choose your contacts from here and whether or not it's delegated to anyone, and this will be in your contacts list. And also, instead of being, this as soon as possible means next action, unless you give it a calendar date, and then it becomes a calendar task. So here, I don't have any projects, but if you had projects, you can go from single action or create it inside of a project. I don't have any projects, so you don't see that at the moment. If you click on the star, it creates the task, but it does it as a focus. Okay, it'll put it on the Do tab. If you click the play button, it creates the task and just adds it to your normal next list. So if we click on here, the star, not only did we create a task, I created one with a focus already. If I unclick this star, then the task disappears from the Do tab and it shows up in the main list, which we'll cover in a second. So this is pretty much, the Do tab is equivalent to the focus. Here you can filter by different tags. Of course, I don't really have hardly anything on here, but you can filter by the different tasks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the Review and Organize tab. I'm going to show you how you can get more items on the Do tab. It's a little different setup than Nirvana. On the Review and Organize tab, you can start a new project here. You can filter things by the context. If you click on your filters here, this is pretty important. We'll go over in a second. So right now what you're seeing is you're seeing all my single actions, okay? And I don't have any projects. So let's go and create a project as an example here. Let's say we're going to purchase an RMR Glock 26. It's a project. Okay, so now that I have a project, if you look underneath the project, you'll see that I can add an action. If you look under the next list, I can add an action here. Okay, also it works up here to add an action to the next list or a project. So we'll just say here, the first thing we're going to do is research the RMR red dot system, sighting system. Okay, so again, you can go over here and you can add a context. Of course, we're going to use the computer for our research. And again, you can delegate and change it from being a next action to something, or moving it to a different project, which we're giving it a date. I'm sorry. So let's add, for the sake of a project, the definition is more than one. Let's say that we're going to purchase or find a vendor. Find a vendor for the RMR red dot site. I'm going to also use, and right now what I did, I just tabbed over and hit return. So now we have officially our first project, okay? So again, this is all your single actions and this is your projects. So when you look over here on this filter, if you click on next, what happens is that it shows you the next actions, which obviously it will show all these, but it only shows you the next action of each project. If you clear this filter by hitting clear, then you'll see all the tasks to all your projects. So you imagine if you had projects with 10 tasks, when you're using this next filter, you only see the first task of each of those projects, not all 10 tasks in that particular project. So this is how you clear it. If you click on calendar, it'll filter by any task that have a due date, which I don't have anything here. So let's go to this silencershop.com that I'm looking at, and let's say that for some reason I needed to report to somebody. I needed to report somebody on a particular date. So let's go ahead and say apply. And you can also add a time of day, which is great, something that I wish Nirvana had. You can just do 10 a.m. You can also choose to repeat, and you have different options in there to play with. But now that I have a task that has a calendar date, if I was to click on calendar, you'll see that it'll show only that task. And it also tells you on the filter how many tasks have a calendar item. So there's one here, and we have 32 next actions. And again, if you clear, then it goes to the default view, which is next actions plus all project information. Okay. On the calendar, you can also further filter by anything that is due within a week, month, or year. So there's also pretty cool filters here. Let's go ahead and hit clear. You can also search for any tasks that are waiting for somebody to take action, which I have 0 right now. So let's go to American Gun Oil, and let's pretend that I'm going to delegate this to someone. I'll just pick somebody on my list. You can see here that on the waiting for, you can filter for, just to show all waiting for actions, or you can filter by a particular person. Of course, we'll only have one person, so it's not going to really show too much there. So that's what this does. This allows you to take the review and organize tab and literally do exactly what I'm describing, is to review and organize your task. So again, this flow is a little different than that of Nirvana. Here you basically have everything. You have your next list, your project list, your waiting for list, your schedule items, all in one area, one tab that allows you to filter them as you see fit. Okay, so it's actually, once you start doing this and using it, it's actually pretty neat. You can also, click on here to get rid of this portion of the UI or take your filters away. If you had a long list of projects here, they'll all be listed here. And then when you click on a project, it jumps right to it on the list and it highlights it in yellow, or you can go straight up to the single action, the top of single actions. I usually like having this filter on, but you can grab any task and just drag and drop it and reorder it. Okay, and if we take any of these tasks and add a star to it, well, here's how you complete it, this check mark. If you add a star to it, let's star a few here. Okay, let's say that that's what we want to focus on today. Now, as you see, as I add or take away the star, you'll see this change, this number up here. Okay, so when you go to your Do tab, now I have the list of tasks that I want to focus on. This also includes if I wanted to work on a particular task of a project. Okay. Just a second here. I want to show you right here the little star. I can add that. And then you'll see the project name on top. So you purchase RMR for the Glock 26. So this is, think of it as your focus list. Now, I don't have very many different tags. I just have computer and review. But if I click on here, I just see the ones with review versus computer or all. Okay, so that's basically it. This is the weird part, okay? And I'm going to try my best. Well, you know what? Let's go over the process inbox tab before I get into what's different about this. And by the way, on this list, you can also see any incoming actions that have calendar items, and you can also see all your last completed actions. So if you click on it, it just kind of collapses. So this is the focus/do tab. This is your review and organize, which is your next list, your projects, your calendar items, your waiting for, all in one area. Then you have your order and processing. Now this is where your stuff comes in. Either you send it through the Zendone email or something that you capture through Evernote. Now here's what I wanted to point out. This is heavily integrated to Evernote, which is a plus for someone like me who uses Evernote. So when items land on this inbox, you have to process them in the order that they're in. You can't just jump around between them. It forces you to go one by one, like David Allen teaches. You'll see the task here. You can set the area and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and do an example. So this little notepad up here is a way to enter something quickly into the inbox. Okay. So let's say this is a test. If you hit enter, anything you enter below here is the text of the body. This is text in the body. Now again, this could be an email that you forwarded, something you captured through Evernote with your Chrome browser. It can be a web page, a picture, anything. And by the way, you do see pictures and you do see everything embedded into the task, which Nirvana can't do right now. So let's go ahead and collect this to the inbox, and what happens, you'll see how the inbox looks. Let's go ahead and do another one. This is another test, and just type in some text here. Okay, let's collect that. So you see that you have two tasks, but I can't do anything to this one. I can't process it because it wants me to go in order. Some people like this, some people don't. I kind of dig it. So here you can basically look at this task here. You can say, well, what area should it be in? Well, I want it to be in my self-defense area. Is it a single action, or should it belong to this project? Because I only have one project here. Again, do you want to delegate it? All the triggers that you would need are all here. Okay. Now, one thing I want to point out is that you can also choose this little wizard thing, and what it does, it allows you to pick from a list on your areas, single actions or multiple projects, people that are delegated, calendar items, in a quicker way. There's a little wand here. Also, if you capture something and you realize it's just reference material because it's integrated to your Evernote, you can say, well, no, I just want to archive this into Evernote. Or you may realize that you captured something, but you don't need to take any action. You can delete it. So here's how you basically process your inbox. So let's say I want to put this in self-defense. A context, let's do something different, a call, just to have different context. And then right here, if you hit the star, you guessed it, it puts in the do task. And if you hit here, it'll just create it on the next list. Here is that if you happen to have something in your inbox you're processing and it takes less than 2 minutes, you just get it done and you can hit done. So let's go ahead and just create this as a regular action. Now you see the next one in line. This is another one. And we can also put this in self-defense. We can use email as the context. This one has a due date of the 11th. I don't care what time on the 11th. And let's say we want that to be something we want to focus on right now. Okay, so now the inbox is processed and you're empty. Okay, so again over here, so that's the process inbox tab. Now here's what I want to explain. The way it works is that anytime you enter text, it actually lives inside Evernote. So all of these tasks are actually in Evernote. The notes, whenever you have a task that doesn't have a note, it actually lives only in Zendone. It lives in Evernote, but it doesn't have a note in Evernote. Here, when you click on this paperclip, every time you type in text on the body of the task, this will also be shown in Evernote, and you have the bold, italics, and bulleted list, and just a nicer looking system. You can also load existing notes, reference material that you may already have in Evernote. Let's say you're researching this Glock and you have an article on the RMR, you can load that existing reference material directly into it. So as soon as you hit save, what happens is that eventually it's going to sync up with Evernote, and it goes from a paperclip to an elephant. When it's an elephant, that tells you that it is synced up. So let's go over here and do a hard sync now, so you can see this paperclip's going to change to an elephant once it's done syncing up with Evernote. So that's kind of a way to let you know if it's online or if it's still local. So you see the elephant there, and you can hover over it and read it. You can click this button to pop it into a new independent window with your browser, which is kind of an overkill, I think, in most cases. Or you can actually click on the elephant and it opens up this little hover window, which is kind of nice. So, Glenn, the confusing part for a lot of people is the Evernote integration part. I actually think it's great. But just remember that everything you do in Zendone lives in Evernote. So one way that I look at it is that Zendone is a graphical user interface overlaid over the Evernote service. And this graphical user interface is designed around the GT methodology. So if we were to actually look at my Evernote, let's do the web version of Evernote. Okay. we were to actually look into my Evernote, you'll notice that there's a couple of folders created automatically. The at inbox is your default inbox where everything goes. So anything you put in this inbox shows up in the inbox in Zendone. That includes anything you clip from the browser. So let's say that we're over here and we do, let's go to my Feedly, and let's say we're looking at, you know, the last U.S. wins and whatever. We read this here. So let's say that you're reading this article in Polygon of this game, The Last of Us, that I actually really enjoy. And let's say that you wanted to capture some text on it. Like, oh, this is pretty neat. And then you capture with Evernote. Okay. Oops. There we go. And then we save it. Okay. Now, right now, I was going to file it to archive, which is what I don't want. That's because I have Evernote set up to kind of go into archive by default. But let's say I capture this into my inbox, and now it's clipping that article. And then let's say that we close this story, and we're reading another one. And this one, for some reason, I want to clip the whole entire web page. So I'm just going to clip everything with Evernote. Okay, again, I'm going to tell it inbox. I have it set up to default to archive. You can change that behavior. It just depends on how you work. So those two things that I captured in Evernote, what happens is that once you sync this, which I got to hit F5. Let me see, how do I do this on this laptop? I've got to do this F5. You'll see them in the inbox here. Well, guess what? That is the actual inbox for Zendone. So Zendone, again, is a graphical user interface over Evernote. So let's go ahead and sync here. And you'll notice that too should show up there once it's done syncing with Evernote. I know it's tedious, but I may speed up this part of the video. It just depends. There you go. So when you go in here, as you can see, this is the first clip that we grabbed from Evernote. Now at this point, I can actually archive it straight up into Evernote in the archive folder, which is essentially what I would have done the first time if I would have just told it to go to archive folder. Or I can say, no, this is actually something we need to take care of for some reason, something I got to do. And I'm going to purposely make it a focus because I want to delete all these when I'm done showing you this. So I processed this, and now the next one you notice is the entire website. And I was going to show you a portion of it. But again, let's also capture that in self-defense, computer, and just make it a focus. Okay, so now I processed that, and you can see this changed to 10. So when I click on this here, I get I get this information. But the cool thing is it has a link to the actual original article. Okay, if you send something through email with an Excel spreadsheet or Word document, it behaves in the same way, except when you click on the link, it'll open up the Word document and what have you. So anything you capture in Evernote or send emails to the Evernote email address is basically your inbox in Zendone. Then if you look over here, you'll notice that there's a Zendone action. This is everything in your action list in Zendone that you haven't completed yet will show up here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the inbox. Let's do all notes. And there's a tag created by the Zendone app automatically for you. So these are all 133 of my tasks that live in Zendone. Okay? This 142 are all the ones I've completed since I've been using Zendone. So the cool thing is that Evernote becomes not only your reference system, but is also your archive for all the things you've completed. You don't have to go and export your all completed tasks. They're all right here, everything I've ever completed. It automatically gets a tag called Zendone completed, and it gives you a timestamp when it was completed. And then if you deleted anything, it lives under a Zendone delete tag, which you can undelete it by basically moving it back to the inbox up here. So again, think of Zendone as a UI that sits over Evernote. But instead of dealing and trying to make Evernote a GTD tool, what Zendone does, it uses the inbox here and it integrates it into this UI so that you're working inside this, pretty slick GTD environment. But all of your notes, whether they haven't been done, they have been archived because they're completed, or you've deleted, still will always live inside Evernote. which I think is really, really cool. So again, if you send emails with embedded art, it'll show up on here the same way. Okay, so now the last thing I wanted to cover, and this is just a quick crash course, okay, is that when you're looking at your do list, now that we have, some 10, which I normally don't have that many, I wanted to cover the search. You can search by a keyword, so we can do American, and it'll just search your entire list. This works on any tab. Okay, you can do it on the review tab as well. So we do the word arts. I know I got martial arts in there somewhere. There it is. Okay, but here's the other thing. Right now you're seeing in your focus list or your do list everything that you have a star on. If you come over here and flick this switch, you now see all your single next actions, including the single next actions of all your projects show up on the do list. If you wanted to toggle back and forth between them this way, it's available. I personally leave this toggle off because I like to just see what I have marked as focus or urgent, not urgent, focused. You also see here that you can also toggle, so when you go to, if you're showing the whole next list, this is kind of redundant. If you're showing the whole next list with this filter and you click on this, it's only going to show the starred ones, which is kind of redundant because if you don't use this at all and toggle this off, you're only going to see the due anyway. And then anything that you have that's overdue will be three red dots, past due date, or they're currently on the list and they're due today or something. It will show here. Okay, so here you see if you click on this, it'll show you everything on this tab that has a date. But you'll see here when it's overdue, or when it's due, you'll see one. When it's overdue, you'll see you have one task overdue. So if you leave these filters alone, that's pretty much kind of the way I work. I just leave those off, and then I just use this as a standard focus list. But you do have some options here. So with that said, it's pretty much the bulk of it. There's more to it, but I just wanted to give you a quick crash course overview of the 3 tabs and how things work inside of Evernote, along with this Zendone. So as you can see here, I'm sending you an email, so I'm just going to send you this link of this video. I know it's longer than you probably like, but I'll put it on my YouTube channel, so it shouldn't be too bad. If you got any questions after that, just let me know. But I think if you mess with it and play with it, you'll kind of learn some cool things. For example, before I let you go, I forgot. I think you'll like this, and you may already know this. Let's put purchase the RMR. RMR is a red dot site system that I'm looking at for one of my Glocks. So let's say that I wanted to, this is I'm going to make a purchase to the computer. Okay, so the context. Okay, so let's say that for some reason that you think that number 1 and 2 are both next actions. Okay, so if you click on this one and hold Control and click on this one, you can group them. Okay, if you right click and say group actions, then both of these get the number 1 and you see that they're both grouped. That means that if you were in the review tab and said I wanted to see nothing but next actions, you will see all the single next actions, but you will see the 2 next actions of this project. So essentially what you did is you can have more than 2 next actions for a project. So you can do parallel or parallel mode or sequential. So play around with this a little bit. I think to undo it, I don't use it too much, but I think to undo it, you just ungroup it. And then it goes back to the way it was. And of course, we can't see the rest of them because we got this filter on. So you got to learn to look over here and make sure you take away your filters. So with that, that's pretty much it. There's some shortcuts and stuff like that you can learn. I think if you go to their blog or somewhere in their interface, I think there's something you can click on that shows you different shortcuts. So hope this helps a little bit. But as far as that goes, I just use it right out of the box the way it was designed, and it's pretty cool. So with that, I'm going to stop this video, and we'll talk later.